it's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world here today. And folks, not a good morning. Let's just prep you for that here after the president's talk last night, or his speech last night. So we'll get you updated on that, your local and national stories you need to know, along with the stocks we're paying attention to. And there's a lot of industries we're watching here this morning with what's happening on the market as well. So let's not delay it all. Let's get into that Market Watch. I'll just let you guys see it for yourself. Yeah, it's one of those mornings here, and it's all based off of the comments last night by President Trump. Basically, let's put it this way. I don't know where to begin. Let's just start with stock. Stocks are obviously in a free fall here this morning. Oil prices are through the roof here today as well. President Trump last night in his speech, he vowed the U.S. will continue to attack Iran, and he failed to offer a clear timetable for the ending of the conflict in the Middle East. Of course, he said, it should be done in the next week or so, but he said we're going to pound them into submission. Well, that has resulted this morning of U.S. crude oil jumping more than 10% this morning, back up above the $110 per barrel. And then, of course, no deadline or no information on reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And so that is affecting the oil prices, which is affecting the stock market here. Don't forget, today is the last day of the stock market open this week, which means tomorrow's Good Friday, so that means the market's closed. And we won't be here either tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday because of the market closure, but might be a good break here coming up this weekend after today. Dow Jones right now down 501 points. 46,083 is what it just changed to. S&P 500 is down 58 points to 6514. Nasdaq's down 280, down that amount to 21,560. The Russell 2K is down 28 points, 2482 for the small cap index. Bitcoin way down today, another 1,900 down, but coming to the mid 60,000 level here, 66,224 for Bitcoin today. And not a good Thursday here, the last trading day of the week here for the market with the holiday coming up tomorrow. And yikes, right, as we get into this Thursday out there. Stocks we are paying attention to right now, I told you, tons of industries being affected with the sell-off today and after the president's speech last night. The one everybody's paying attention to, obviously, is the oil stocks out there. First stock we're going to look at is ConocoPhillips here this morning. I already told you oil prices have moved back up into the $110 a barrel range. Oil prices surged more than 7% after President Trump's speech last night on that Iran war as well, which means everything is up here in the oil market. And why is it up? Well, the oil companies will make more money the more expensive oil is. ConocoPhillips is up 3.42% right now. ExxonMobil's next here on this list, as they're up today as well, 2.33%. Chevron, let's look at them as well. They're also up today, 3.41%. A lot of companies tied to oil, all of them are up today based off of the oil prices going up. But it's not just oil prices. I don't have stocks for this for you here, but cruise stocks down big today as well. Why? Oil prices are going higher. Questions about demand. Airline stocks are going lower today as well based off of oil pricing, concerns about demand as well. So we're talking Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, all down today big here. About 4% for those companies, if I had to average them out there based off of the oil story. Airlines, as I said, those higher oil prices are down. All the airlines, Delta, United, Southwest, Alaska, all down 4% roughly today based off of oil pricing as well. Gold was down another 1% here as well after the president's speech last night, which means gold miners are also down today as well. About 6% out there for some of them. IM Gold, for instance, right now is down 6%. Other ones are down 5%. Kinross Gold and Newmont down about 5% as well for that. Memory stocks way down with the huge market sell-off happening today. So that means Western Digital, Micron, SanDisk, Seagate all down 5 to 6% here today as well. But even liquefied natural gas exporters, they're down to, excuse me, they're up today. Kind of the same reason Chevron and those companies are up. The Middle East fighting, then the Strait of Hormuz, well, it's affecting these natural gas prices. Well, they're up. These stocks are up. Venture Global, Cheniere Energy, Next Decade, all up today, 3 to 4 to 5% this morning. All because there is a thought that global supply is going to continue to be a struggle here in this company, making the liquefied natural gas go up in price, meaning companies associated to them going up as well as they'll make more money, and then fertilizer stocks. We know that the Strait of Hormuz is a big fertilizer area where it gets moved around out of there as well. Well, fertilizer companies are up today as well. 3% for a couple of them. I see LSB Industries right now at 5% up, all because supply issues with that Strait of Hormuz continue to be closed. The fertilizer stocks up as well. So whole industries are up here this morning based off of the president's talk yesterday and not giving a firm date on the end of the hostilities there in the Middle East as well. So I know that's a lot, but that is what's happening on the market here today. When we come back later on and look at stocks, well, we're going to look at General Motors, Global Star making some news today as well, along with Amazon. The stocks we're going to look at, General Motors and Global Star, coming up here later in the program. But first, let's get into other stories besides the president's speech and what's happening in the other side of the world that's affecting us here and layoff plans in terms of there's a new report out there, and layoff plans rose in March from a month ago, meaning February. Employers are leaning toward AI, artificial intelligence, out there. This is a report from Challenger Gray and Christmas out there. U.S. employers announced 60,620 job cuts last month. The planned reductions, well, the tech sector is the big one where the planned reductions are piling up in that area. Dell, for instance, doing a lot of layoffs in that tech sector. And so February's slowdown February had a slowdown of planned layoffs there in February, and kind of going away here in March as well. Job cut announcements were down sharply from March 2025, so a year ago as well. But that's partly because last year's cuts, well, they're all part of that Doge factor, right? The layoff of people in the government, etc. So the numbers are way down, but it's because of the large amount that happened last year in terms of the federal government side. The main reason for planned layoffs in March, well, the main reason given at least was artificial intelligence. 15,341 cuts were attributed to AI at that time. It's not the leading factor in real job cuts throughout this whole year. Well, the bigger issue here is market and economic conditions leading to a lot of those layoffs as well. We told you the highlight of the ADP report yesterday as we were on air, and as that broke while we were on air. But ADP reported Wednesday that private job gains were actually steady last month. The Labor Department data that came out earlier this week, well, it showed February's hiring rate hit its lowest level since early in the pandemic as well. So, private sector numbers, or at least the job gains were steady. Labor Department showed February's hiring rate lowest level since the pandemic. Well, what's that going to mean for the Labor Department's job report that will include March's unemployment rate? Well, we are off tomorrow. It's a Good Friday holiday and markets are closed, but that report is still coming out tomorrow morning. What is that going to tell us here on what the market in terms of employment is looking like is the big question here today as we are looking towards that as well. Then we get a couple retail reports out there as well. And shoppers actually increased their spending in February. Well, what numbers? Well, what categories? Cars and clothing are the big ones here as well. And that's after pulling back at the start of the year. But the pullback at the start of the year was attributed to those severe winter storms happening on the East Coast there in January as well. Retail sales rose a better than expected 0.6% in February. Well, it was at a revised 0.1% decline back in January. And like I said, the Commerce Department at that time blamed that bad weather where shops were shut down for 2 weeks at a time with that bad weather moving through that East Coast. But there is concern. Obviously, those are backwards leaning numbers. Huge concern about this Iran war here that started end of February, beginning of March as well. As we know, gasoline prices are through the roof and continue to be up as well. None of those numbers for March, and now the inflation, the gas prices, not reflected in the retail sales data that came out yesterday as well. And the fear is, and it's probably going to happen, that gas and oil prices, that's going to derail spending. Everybody's probably cut back on spending because you have to spend so much more on fueling your car as of right now. So those numbers are looking back before the stuff happened, before all the war stuff happened. So the next number is going to be really telling here coming up here when we get the newer numbers. So we want to be more specific here in the categories and retail side. Motor vehicle auto parts dealerships, they rose 1.2% in February. If you want to take that whole sector out of this report, sales rose 0.4% in that time frame. So clothing, accessory stores were up 2%. Electronics, appliance stores, well, they were up 0.5% in that February timeframe. Online retailers were up 0.7% as well. Health, personal care stores up 2.3% in that February time period. So it's only a partial look at consumer spending. Well, and the reason why it's partial, well, this report does not include travel, hotel stays, Airbnb, those types of things are not in this report. The loan services category, though, that is in this report, that's the restaurants. They actually registered an increase of 0.4% in that restaurant category as well. So at least as of February, retail sales were kind of rebounded. Again, backwards looking, big events obviously happening here throughout March with the war in Iran. So something to pay attention. Some optimism there. But there's a lot of caution out there with these reports coming out for February's numbers because the market has changed so much here in March. Easter's this weekend, right? And everybody goes out and gets eggs, colors them, and does all of the fun stuff there. Well, here's some good news for you. I was trying to find some good news in the world for you right now. U.S. egg prices have actually fallen 60% at this time frame from last year's record highs. Obviously, makes it a lot easier to go out there and fill your Easter baskets and your Passover plates and hiding eggs, coloring them, etc. Obviously, bird flu was to blame for those retail prices last year. But that the bird flu is still out there, and that's what's interesting about this. You don't hear about it as much, right? Because prices are down, but it's still affecting U.S. poultry flocks. The number of inflected commercial flocks actually rose in March with the bird flu. Farmers have been rapidly replenishing flocks that died or had to be destroyed over the past years. So between July 24 and July 25, and those years, the number of egg-type chicks actually hatched in the U.S. rose 8% in that time frame. It was the first sustained and substantial increase in the availability of specialty bred layer chicks since the bird flu outbreak actually began in 2022. So, last year, the Trump administration, they imported about 1 billion eggs last year. That obviously helped lower prices as well. Imports have since returned to more normal levels here since that initial $1 billion importing of those eggs. But the U.S. also has exported fewer eggs over the last year, obviously to help continue boost the domestic supplies of eggs out there. But the big news is 60% down in price on eggs here going into this Easter weekend right now. And those of you that don't like shots, you're interested in those GLP-1 medications, don't like the shots. Well, we know the Wegovy pill has been available for, a month and a half now or so, maybe 2 months now. Well, we're about to have some competition out there. Federal regulators yesterday, yes, they've officially approved Eli Lilly's new weight loss pill. A couple months delayed there as well, but it's the second daily oral medication to treat obesity and other weight-related conditions. I have statistics coming up for you, right? Do I get the shot? Do I do the pill? What do I look at here? And I'll have that coming up for you here in just a minute. But the FDA did grant expedited approval to this new pill here. It's called orforglipron. I know I screwed it up, but that's what I do here, right? On these medical words. And that's the GLP-1 drug that works like widely used injectable medications to mimic a natural hormone that does control appetite and feelings of fullness. This Eli Lilly pill, well, it's going to be branded as Foundayo. It's expected to begin shipping coming up this Monday. Eli Lilly did say people with insurance may be able to get the drug starting at $25 per month with a Lilly discount card. Prices for people paying cash, that's going to range between $149 per month and $349 per month, obviously depending on what dose you go with. The new pill does join Novo Nordisk's Wegovy pill, which we've talked about here. And the Wegovy pill has been a huge success. It spurred more than 600,000 prescriptions in the United States since that was approved in December, a timeframe. The FDA did authorize Eli Lilly's drug as part of the new program aimed at cutting drug approval times. The agency said it reviewed the company's application in 50 days' time to get that approved as well. So, in the clinical tests here for these pills, 3,000 adults with obesity, participants who received the highest dose of this new drug here, or Glorifon, 36 milligrams is the highest dose. They lost 11.2% of their body weight, which is about 25 pounds on average, over more than 16 months. Well, that compared with a 2.1% weight loss, or less than 5 pounds in patients who received a placebo in that same time frame. Now, that reporting was done in the New England Journal of Medicine, is where you find that. Now, the Lilly and Novo Nordisk pills, now that they're both hitting the market, they both result in less weight loss than the average achieved with the injectable drugs out there. So the Zepbound, the Eli Lilly's injectable drug, it results in a 21% average weight loss. Novo Nordisk injectable one of Wegovy, it averages about 15% weight loss. So the shots do give you more weight loss in a shorter time frame than the pills do as well. But both once daily pills promise convenience. But the new one here from Eli Lilly, the Orglipron, yeah, that's a small molecule GLP-1 drug. What that basically means, it can be taken without any restrictions, meaning you don't have to, you can eat, you can drink, etc. when you take it. Well, that Wegovy pill that's been out for a couple months, that's a peptide. It must be taken with a sip of water in the morning on an empty stomach. And then you have to wait 30 minutes before eating or drinking, as what they say you need to do before that. So there are some differences in these pills. There's differences in the weight loss and the time frame that happens as well out there. If it's something you're interested in and looking at, obviously consult your doctor. But you're getting tons of options here, folks, for the weight loss drugs out there as well, officially starting Monday there in the world. Hey, Elon Musk, let's go to space, right? It did launch yesterday, the Artemis 2. Did launch yesterday. It was a fantastic launch, I thought, from that side. But we're not going to talk specifically about that. We're going to talk about SpaceX because they have officially filed preliminary paperwork to sell shares to the public, meaning an IPO is coming quicker than we thought it would be as well. Now, this is going to be a blockbuster offering. It's going to rank as the biggest ever. It is going to compete for the biggest ever here, SpaceX. And it obviously could make Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire when it goes public. As SpaceX IPO promises, it's going to be the most watched, it's going to be the most paid attention to, and it's going to be one of the biggest Wall Street events of the year. Several investment banks are already lining up to help raise tens of billions of dollars to fund the SpaceX stocks here as well. And don't forget, SpaceX, they're moving towards setting up the base on the moon. They're also setting up for data centers, huge data centers up in space as well to get out of Mesa, Arizona, for instance, where there's a ton of data centers, in Phoenix here, right, as well. So how much is SpaceX does plan to raise? Well, we don't know in exact numbers here, but the reported figures and the guess figures is as much as $75 billion. Yes, that's a ton of money to raise here with an IPO. The offering could easily eclipse the $29 billion that excuse me, Saudi Aramco raised in its IPO back in 2019. So SpaceX IPO getting closer and closer to becoming a reality, and a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon out there as well. And sports fans, if you're a big soccer fan, World Cup coming to the United States, Canada, and Mexico this summer. They did another wave of ticket sales yesterday, and yeah, what we found out is FIFA has risen its prices for a large number of games for the World Cup this year. Already high prices. They've raised them here with this as well. The price increases took place in the latest sales window that kicked off yesterday. That's about 40 out of the 104 games now costing more than in the last sales window. Yes, that's all according to an NPR examination of prices, but it's being reported a lot of places here today. It's the most expensive category one tickets is what they call them. Well, that's the tickets for the final game that's going to happen at MetLife. Well, the most expensive tickets there, $10,990 for that area. Now, that's a big area there that covers most of the lower two bowls of MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So it's not just a couple sections or rows 1 through 10. Most of the lower two bowls at MetLife Stadium there in New Jersey are going to cost $10,990 to get into that game as well. That's where the last game of the tournament is going to be held in July. So the difference is, well, those prices were already expensive. They were around $8,700 the last time, the last window the sale went out there as well. And those tickets were priced that in the previous sales window earlier this year. So big increases, much higher than the $6,370 at which they were priced when sales kicked off last year in that window. Yeah, FIFA's taken a lot of heat for these prices, and the increases are coming, even though FIFA has faced heavy criticism about the record prices being charged. And what they're doing is they're using the dynamic pricing method for the first time for this World Cup. A group representing European fans and consumers, well, they call FIFA's prices exorbitant. I, I can think of 1,000 other words to use besides exorbitant. They actually filed a formal complaint this month with the European Commission, well, trying to get the FIFA to lower their prices to these games as well. FIFA has justified its prices, citing strong demand for tickets, as well as noting that it's adopting its pricing to the North American market. Yeah. FIFA has reportedly said it's a nonprofit that steers the big majority of its revenue from the World Cup to grow soccer around the world. So now they're saying they need to charge that for the poor people, is what they're now relying on as well. FIFA is an absolute. The World Cup. It just turns you off on that, the pricing here and stuff. And that's okay. I'll sit home and watch it, but with those prices. But dear God, FIFA, like a lot of sport entities, just they don't care unless you can afford to go. They don't care about you. That's simple out there as well. Hey, you ever want to go to space? Right? Speaking of space again, Virgin Atlantic, they're reopening sales of its commercial space flights here, which they had shut it down for a little bit. And it's on a limited basis for you to get on this. So get ready to book your Virgin Atlantic flight to space. Well, you got to have a little bit of money as well. Yeah, they've even risen their price. It's going to cost you $750,000 for Virgin Galactic's commercial space flights. That's an increase of about $100,000 from what it charged before when they paused the space flights about 2 years ago to focus on building its spaceships that will actually handle that space tourism business. They did say that their first spaceship is nearly complete and ready for testing. The construction of its second spaceship is progressing. It's expected to allow it to enter service later this year or early next year as well. And folks, I'm just saying, for a cool, hey, you're going to choose World Cup, space. Which one do you want to do more? Prices are getting ridiculous, aren't they? Hey, folks, come on back here at McCollum on Business. We'll keep this Thursday show going, our last of the week. We're off tomorrow because the markets are closed here at McCollum on Business. So we'll get it going. We'll look at that Amazon news here as well. We'll look at a couple stocks, local stories coming your way. Come on back. It's McCollum on Business, Thursday edition. And we're back here, McCollum on Business here on this Thursday. Don't forget, we are off tomorrow on Friday. It is Good Friday. Markets are closed, so McCollum on Business is going to be off. But we'll get you right into, like today, we'll get right into the main event as soon as we're done here. Live 8 to 10 a.m. here at Robat TV. As soon as we're done with McCollum on Business today, main event here today, we'll get it up on demand, not only on Robat TV, but on our company YouTube page out there for our production company, TME Media AZ on YouTube. Give us a follow there as well. We put our shows up that we do on demand as soon as we're done. They're on that TME Media AZ website. Then, of course, like some of the shows, this one does not have a podcast version, but the main event does, right? TME Sports Show. You can follow us on X. Also, favorite podcast system. Just search the main event with Steven, the main event with Dale, TME Sports Show. Pops right up for you as well on Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. Of course, Pit Stop coming up later on today. We look back at Martinsville. We look back at Barber Motorsports there in Alabama last week for IndyCar. Look ahead to this weekend's racing. The Cup Boys are off Easter weekend, but Truck Series, O'Reilly Series, all happening this weekend at Rockingham. We'll have that show up for you later on today. By 2 p.m., that'll be posted here at Robat TV on the YouTube page, TME Media AZ, as well on their podcast there on the Pit Stop with Steven, if you search that on the podcast system. For those of you that'd rather listen to the show on your favorite podcast system, that's where you find it there as well. Just give us a like and follow. Help us support. And don't forget the Pit Stop Talk on X, where you can find the social media component of that show as well throughout the week. We'd love to see you on there and converse with you there. And we appreciate those of you that have already followed those pages and support us as well and help us get the word out that these shows are out there. And, of course, tomorrow morning, even though it's Good Friday and we're off here at McCollum on Business, main event's going. Yeah, The Real Matrix, new episode coming out 10 a.m. tomorrow here at Robat TV. Then at noon, their podcast system version comes out. Search The Real Matrix, Angry Patriot on any of your favorite podcast systems. New episode tomorrow at noon there. And yes, the full shows are not on YouTube here for The Real Matrix. They're on rumble.com. Go to rumble.com/user/the TME Media, and it comes right up for you there as well. The Real Matrix full episodes there on Rumble. And yes, we're going to start putting our sports stuff on Rumble as well. We've gotten some feedback. Some people just don't want to use YouTube. We can respect that. And they like Rumble a lot better. So we'll start putting our sports stuff on Rumble as well, since we're utilizing that page anyway for The Real Matrix. New episode tomorrow there as well. And folks, with that being said, we know what the day is like. It probably has not changed much. I haven't looked because I don't like that type of depression. but it's been a tough morning on the market here. Let's get into it with the Market Watch. Nothing has really changed. Everything is still stumbling, tumbling, bumbling. Dow Jones still down 360 points right now. S&P 500 down 42 points. Nasdaq's down to 215 points right now. Russell 2K down to 12 points, as you see there for that small cap index. Then you got Bitcoin, 66,338 for Bitcoin, as that is tumbling here today as well. Getting closer to that 65,000 range here in the mid-range for Bitcoin, as we are looking at all. If you'd listened to the show earlier, oil prices up to the 110. Oil prices have soared 13% here today, all after that President Trump speak last. So earlier today, it was 7% when we talked about a half an hour ago. Now they're down up 13% today as well. Really quick, Tesla has reported its first quarter delivery of vehicles, down 14% from last quarter for Tesla officially now. 358,000 first quarter deliveries for Tesla out there as well. So that's breaking right now as well. Stocks we're paying attention to, though, other than Tesla, with that news just breaking, General Motors is what we're looking at. We did that story yesterday on how General Motors, Ford, etc., these companies are up against big sales numbers last year as people were looking to buy cars before the tariffs went into effect. Well, General Motors reported yesterday, and they are down 4.14% here today. Well, they said their first quarter sales fell 9.7% compared to the same 3 months a year ago. As I told you yesterday in that kind of a preview, we expected that to happen. General Motors and well, basically all car manufacturers, they are weighed down by rising oil prices that we've been dealing with. People aren't buying as much as well, and then there's also fears that consumer spending is going to continue to be weakened with gas prices being higher, which means people aren't going to go buy cars when you're already squeezed here on a personal level. All that combined, General Motors 4.17% down here today. And next stock we're going to look at is a stock called Global Star out there. We have this story coming up for you. It's our first story here in this segment. But why are we looking at Global Star today? They're up 10.71% right now. Well, Financial Times came out with a report that Amazon is in talks to acquire Global Star. Amazon, by the way, I don't have the graph for you, but Amazon is down about 1.5% here today as well. Amazon did decline to comment, and Global Star didn't comment at all about the Financial Times report. But Global Star up 10.83% as of right now. And that's our story we'll go into here in a little bit more detail from Financial Times as well. But Amazon is trying to ramp up its efforts to build its own low Earth orbit satellite business. Why? Amazon wants to rival SpaceX's Starlink out there as well. That's why they are looking to purchase and make a deal with Global Star to take on that company. This all comes from the Financial Times. It was reported yesterday as well. All people in the know is where the sources are there. So Global Star is completely known for its low Earth orbit communication satellites. They offer voice, data, and asset tracking services, and they do it across enterprise, government, and consumer markets. That's what Global Star does. So now the rumor is, right, from people in the know, Amazon and Global Star are negotiating some of the complexities of a potential deal. They've been talking for a long time, according to the Financial Times as well. One of the big factors complicating this deal, though, Apple has an ownership of about 20% stake in Global Star. Obviously, Amazon and Apple have to have a conversation in this deal as well. So Amazon is negotiating with a couple of big companies out there in order to try to get this deal done. So that is out there with Global Star and Amazon making this move. They want to rival, obviously, Starlink there with SpaceX coming up here as well. Now let's get into some local stuff here. Housing here in the Valley. Active listings in Phoenix dropped 3.8% year over year in February 2026. Yeah, 30-year mortgage rates have now climbed to around 6.4%. Tightening inventory, 1.1% decline in median home sales price. Well, that's led to a market with flat price growth increased competition here in the valley as well, which obviously favors buyers, but a specific type of buyer, a patient buyer. Over, that's the favorite thing right now. And that's who all this whole market favors, patient buyers as well. We get all this information from homes.com, other local reports out there, just a snapshot. Now, I did see two or three other reports here from other local entities on these numbers and everything. And, you know, there's some disagreement here that, sharper drops have happened here in Maricopa County than that report. But that seems to be an average report there. And those are the numbers I gave you. So if you do Google that, you will see some sharper drops in those numbers here. But the one I gave you is kind of like an average. So I just want to give you that information there just so you're aware of it if you do look that up. And now officially, up in the North Valley here, I 17 in the 303 area. We've talked about Halo Vista a lot. That was approved by the Phoenix City Council here, a month or so ago. Well, that construction up there has finally started. It's that massive 2,300 acre multi use project that's up there around the Taiwan Semiconductor complex up there in North Phoenix. The Halo Vista project is going to eventually include retail, housing, industrial space as well. So the Greater Phoenix Economic Council says it's a $7 billion project. It's inspired by similar TSMC facilities over in Taiwan. So, this was a big fight. A lot of HOAs up in that area fought this thing. Eventually, it did get passed. Construction's officially started. Two reasons I'm telling you. One, it's a follow up, but two, that means traffic up there is going to get a little dicey if you're up in that area or have to travel up into that area. Now, here in the Valley, downtown this weekend is going to be super busy. Baseball, Diamondbacks, and also the Final Four for women's college basketball is here as well. Number one seeds are remaining. UConn, UCLA, Texas, and South Carolina are here in the Final Four this weekend here in the Valley. So these are some highly anticipated, high-end matchups happening here in the Valley this weekend. So, you want to go? Are you a fan of the team? Well, expect to pay hefty ticket prices this weekend if you want to get in. Per StubHub data, excuse me, folks. Apologize. Demand for women's Final Four is strong. It's expected to accelerate. And that's because history tells us 60 to 65% of women's Final Four ticket sales, they occur in the final 8 days before the event, which means could drive up prices here as we get closer to this weekend's festivities. As of Monday this week, the average asking price for all three games this weekend, $537 per ticket on StubHub. If you go to other ticket sites, they're much more. $871 per ticket on Game Time, that site itself. 18% of people who bought tickets to the 2026 Women's Final Four, they've also purchased WNBA tickets this calendar year coming up. So it tells you that how women's sports is growing, here in the United States. That's an increase to about 12% at the same point in 2024, approximately 11% in 2025 as well. Excuse me, folks. I apologize. So if you're looking to go to the Women's Final Four this weekend, tickets are going to be pricey. They're going to be in demand as well. So just be aware of that going down there. And it's going to be a fantastic four best teams battling it out this weekend here in downtown Phoenix coming up as well. We have Cactus League numbers here as well. And Cactus League total attendance actually increased here in 2026. And that's not a surprise. It usually does. But weather obviously was a big factor this week as we hit those 100-degree temperatures astronomically earlier than we ever have before as well. But the attendance did increase for the fifth straight year in 2026. 1.7 million fans came to the Valley to spring training games over those 237 games that happened here in the Phoenix area. That was a 3.4% increase from 2025, the largest increase, by the way, since 2018 as well. might be our final spring training for a couple years with the lockout looming here coming up after this baseball season. Average was 7,400 fans per game. That was down 169 people per day from 2025. So the weather, well, it helped the overall total. No rainouts during this year's spring training as opposed to several last year. Although it was hot, they moved a lot of those games to nighttime, if you remember as well. So they kind of adjusted that. The single day attendance record came actually when we were having those 100-degree temperatures for the first time ever in March. Friday, March 20th. That was our hottest day of the year as well. 78,638 fans attended Cactus League games in the Valley, and then they moved a lot of those games to nighttime as well. That was our biggest day there on Friday as well, coming up here. This obviously the largest crowd. You can guess here, right? Dodgers, Cubs. Which venue got it? One of those two teams as well. Well, the largest crowd was 15,788,000. Sunday, March 15th. That was when the Dodgers and the Cubs played over at Sloan Park was the highest day there as well. Chicago White Sox averaged 5,100, 5,155 fans. That was the biggest percent jump in Cactus League attendance, 12.9% for the White Sox on the increase there as well. And not a shocker. It's either going to be Dodgers or Cubs that lead attendance. It was the Cubs. Their average attendance led the Cactus League for the 13th straight season. Their average attendance was 12,644 fans per game as well for Cactus League. So another successful Cactus League here in the Valley as well that we are looking at as well. So there we go, folks. I try to find some positive news here going into the last day here of the trading week with the markets closed tomorrow, especially with the way the market looks today as well. It's going to be a trying day out there. Everybody enjoy. We're off tomorrow here at McCollum on Business. The main event is happening tomorrow, but pit stop later today as well. So everybody enjoy your 3-day weekend or however you're celebrating the Easter holiday, if you do anything at all or just get the day off tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday here at McCollum on Business, 7 a.m. Come and join us, would you? Otherwise, the main event coming up still today, pit stop later on, main event tomorrow as well. We'll see you then, folks. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday here, McCollum on Business.